17 of One Man's Opinion, where I review professional theater in Connecticut, Broadway, and national tours. Today's episode, I will be reviewing Keenan Scott II's new play, Thoughts of a Colored Man, on a limited run on Broadway at the Golden Theater at 252 West 45th Street, running through March 20th, 2022. I'll just say it straight up at the top of the show, I loved this play. I've got to explain why, and me explaining why takes some explanation. I moved to New York City in July of 1998, soon after I started attending a church that had a predominantly black congregation. Now, fast forward to 2009, I enlisted in the U.S. Navy. I spent 4 years serving this country with some of the finest men and women I have ever met. I worked as a yeoman on board the USS George H.W. Bush for most of those 4 years, and most of my colleagues were sailors of color, Black, Latinx, Philippine, Pacific Islander, and more. The way the 7 men on stage in Thoughts of a Colored Man, the way they speak and present themselves is sometimes word for word. I loved it because Keenan Scott's language felt real. It felt honest. It felt like these men were representing a truth on stage that I had only heard in the more personal conversations that I've had with these friends. And as a white man, though I can never presume to have an equal understanding of the tribulations black people have gone through, I personally feel privileged that these friends of mine, some of which I consider family, have been so honest and allowed me to be as close to them as I think I can ever be. And this show, for me, honors those friends of mine. And I deeply personally thank Keenan Scott II for this play because it's beautifully written and all the language in it is as real as I've ever heard on stage. And one thing I want to focus on is the title. It's singular, Thoughts of a Colored Man, but there are 7 characters. Now, these characters are named after facets of the human being. There's love, played by Dyllon Burnside, happiness, played by Brian Terrell Clark, wisdom, played by Esau Pritchett, lust, played by Da Vinci, passion, played by Luke James, depression, played by Forrest McClendon, anger, played by Tristan Mack Wilds. I can be entirely off basis here, and I acknowledge that this is my own hypothetical here, but I interpret it as this. Though these characters interact and have their own individual personalities, they are all representatives and all representations of the same person. Are we not at all people who love, experience happiness, invoke or receive wisdom, experience lust, depression, and anger? These are universal traits. Are these all traits of one individual that comes from the mind of Keenan Scott? Is it Keenan Scott himself? Or is it a representation of 7 archetypes? I don't know. I cannot definitively say one way or the other. That is for Scott to tell us if he chooses to, and for us to interpret for ourselves, which is another beautiful element of this play. It lets us look deeper than the surface of the stereotype that is so often portrayed by various media. One does not make the whole man. They all make up the one. Without the others, the one is incomplete. Are things like lust, depression, and anger negative traits? Sure, they can be. But without them, the representation it would make would be dishonest, because the whole isn't complete without the negative, as much as we dislike it or unsettles us. Now, the 7 characters conflict with each other, argue with each other, debate the value of sneakers, the importance of education, respecting people different than you, the aspirations of being something bigger than they already are. These are universal tenets of human life that we all struggle with in our own hearts and minds. Thoughts of a Colored Man is just that. These tenets, through the lens of a man who happens to be black and happens to have to face the added struggle of being black. It's tenuous, it's passionate, it's honest, it's poetic, lyrical, and thought-provoking. It's everything theater should be. The performances are wonderful. Standouts for me were Luke James, whose passion is portrayed as an expectant father who sings to God his prayers and hopes, and Dyllon Burnside's love, who fights to avoid putting up a front with his friend Lust as the two sometimes come together. which is very real. In this short season so far, Thoughts of a Colored Man is the must-see experience. And that is one man's opinion of Thoughts of a Colored Man on Broadway at the Golden Theater. Be sure to leave your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow me for more reviews. My next review will be the Lehman Trilogy, also on Broadway. So until next time, I'll see you at the theater.